It was the middle of winter, the kind of cold that bites your skin the moment you step outside. Snow fell heavier than anyone could remember. Roads were buried, trees bowed under the weight of ice, and most people stayed indoors, safe and warm. But not Lena Carter. She was a vet, specialized in wild animals, and had spent over 25 years traveling the rugged hills of Silver Ridge, a remote part of the northern wilderness. That morning, February 14th, the storm hadn't let up. Wind howled like a wounded animal. Snow swirled in every direction and visibility almost zero. Then something caught her eye. A dark shape, small, motionless, lying in a snow-covered clearing about 50 yards off the icy road. She slowed her truck, then stopped. What is that? She thought. A bag? A dead animal? She grabbed her binoculars, focused through the storm, and her breath caught. It was a foal. A tiny wild Mustang, no more than 8 weeks old. Lying completely still, covered in frost, its body curled into a tight ball. Most people would have assumed it was dead and kept driving. But Lena, she'd seen a lot in her years. Colts born in blizzards, Mars trapped in ravines. But this felt different. She pulled over, grabbed her emergency kit, and stepped into the knee-deep snow. Every step was a battle. The wind screamed. The cold stung her face. But she kept going. When she reached the foal, she knelt down, heart pounding. No pulse. Not in the neck, not in the legs, nowhere. No breath, not even a wisp of vapor in the freezing air. She took out her thermometer, placed it carefully, and nothing. The device couldn't even register a temperature. That meant the little one was colder than 80 degrees. Far below what should be survivable. By every rule of medicine, this foal was dead. But something didn't sit right. The way it was curled, so perfectly like it had chosen that position. Not sprawled, not collapsed, but coiled as if protecting itself. And its coat, thick, healthy, full of natural insulation. This wasn't a weak or sick animal. This was a strong, wild-born foal, built for winter. Lena's mind raced. She remembered reading about animals in the Arctic, bears, ground squirrels, entering a kind of deep sleep when it got too cold. Their bodies slowed down, heart nearly stopped, breathing almost gone. But they weren't dead, just waiting. Could a horse do that? No one had ever proven it. But right then in that frozen silence, Lena made a decision. She wasn't going to treat this as a corpse. She was going to treat it as a patient. Carefully, she wrapped the foal in wool blankets from her truck. No sudden heat, no shock. Just slow, gentle warmth. She lay across the back seat, turned the heater on low, and began driving toward the nearest animal clinic, 90 minutes away. All the while, she watched. And then, after 20 minutes, she felt it. A flicker. A single, faint pulse in the foal's neck. One beat every 15 seconds. She called her colleague, Dr. Mira Patel in Elmwood. Mira, I've got a foal, no vital signs, but I think it's still alive. Myra's voice was cautious. Lena, at that temperature? Horses don't survive that. I know, Lena whispered. But this one, I don't know, it feels different. Back in the truck, Lena started gentle massage, legs, chest, hooves, trying to wake the blood. She gave soft breaths through its nose, just like in newborn resuscitation. 45 minutes in, she checked the gums. Gray before, now a hint of pink. Her heart leapt. Then, just past 10 in the morning, she felt again a stronger pulse. Steady, organized, not random, not fading, beating. She pulled over, hands shaking. It's alive, she whispered. It's really alive. When she arrived at the clinic, Mira was waiting with her team. They moved fast, warm fluids, monitoring oxygen. And hour by hour, the impossible happened. The foal's temperature rose. 84, 87, 89. Its breathing became its own. Its heart climbed. 30, 45, 60 beats per minute. Then, just after 2 in the afternoon, its eyes fluttered, then opened, dilated, unfocused, but aware. Mira stood beside Lena, both silent. I've never seen this, Mira said softly. Not in 15 years. Not ever. They named him Storm for the night he was born and the storm he survived. But now a new question arose. How did a 2-month-old foal end up alone miles from any herd in the worst blizzard in decades? The next day, Dr. Norakim, a wildlife biologist, arrived with news. We've checked all the herds, she said. No missing foals match Storm. Then she noticed something. His markings, dark stripe down the back, faint zebra-like lines on his legs, shoulder bars. This foal, she said, comes from a rare bloodline, one we thought was nearly gone. Later, an elder tracker named Eli Redfeather arrived. He looked at Storm and his eyes widened. I know this one, he said. He's from the Shadow Run herd. His mother, they call her Wind Dancer. But that herd had been moved weeks ago, over 200 miles south, for a conservation project. They were being relocated, Eli explained. But Wind Dancer panicked during transport, broke free, vanished into the mountains. And then it hit them. Wind Dancer must have been pregnant. The stress, the cold, the storm. She likely gave birth during the blizzard. And in the wild, when survival is uncertain, Maras sometimes make the hardest choice. They leave the newborn to save themselves, to live and breed again. It wasn't abandonment. It was sacrifice. She didn't want to leave him, Lena said, voice breaking. She had no choice. But Eli had more news. We found her, he said, alive, 10 miles from where you found Storm. And she's been calling, every night, looking for her foal. The room fell silent. Could they reunite them? It was risky. Wild horses don't always accept foals after separation. And Storm now carried human scent. But they had to try. 5 days later, on a clear, cold morning, Storm was brought to a quiet meadow deep in the mountains. A small tracking device was placed on him, just in case. He was placed in a shelter at one end, and downwind, Wind Dancer was let in. At 8:30 a.m., she appeared at the edge of the meadow. She stopped, listened, then called a long, mournful cry that echoed across the valley. And from the shelter, Storm answered, not a cry of fear, not a whimper, a strong, wild call full of life. Wind Dancer broke into a run. She reached him, sniffed him head to tail, nickered softly. Then she began to groom him, licking his forehead, his neck, his back. Storm pressed against her, instinctively moving into nursing position. Dr. Patel watched the monitor. His heart rate, it's calmer now than it's been since we found him, she said. He's home. Over the next hours, Wind Dancer taught Storm how to find water, where graze, how to listen for danger. They were a family again. And Storm, he wasn't just surviving. He was thriving. 3 years later, he's a strong, proud stallion, 14.2 hands tall, dun-colored, with bold primitive markings. He leads his own small band in the high meadows of Silver Ridge. But his legacy, it goes far beyond that. His survival changed everything. Veterinary schools now teach the Storm protocol, a new method for treating extreme hypothermia in horses. 12 other foals have been saved using the same techniques. Scientists discovered that wild Mustangs, especially from high-altitude herds, have a natural ability to slow their bodies in extreme cold, a kind of suspended survival no one knew existed. Wildlife agencies changed their rules, now prioritizing family reunions during relocations. And Eli Redfeather helped create a program that blends traditional tracking knowledge with modern science, training a new generation of conservationists. Children in hospitals hear Storm's story when they're scared, when they think they can't make it. And they learn that even in the deepest cold, life can wait. That sometimes what looks like the end is just the beginning. Never underestimate the will to survive. Sometimes the greatest miracles are hidden in what seems like silence, in what looks like loss. But with patience, care, and belief, life finds a way. If Storm's journey touched your heart, if it gave you hope, please share the story. Tell someone who's going through a hard time, because miracles happen when someone refuses to walk away. And if you believe in the power of second chances, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. There are more stories like this, true, powerful, full of wonder, waiting to be told. Thank you for listening, and remember, even in the coldest snow, a spark can still burn.